morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Netgear. Today's host is Jordan Cooper. He is our Territory Account Manager, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Jordan will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Jordan, thank you so much for being with us again. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Thanks for having me, Julie. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to learn some more about Netgear. Like Julie said, my name is Jordan Cooper, the account manager for California, Texas, and Hawaii, to which Microcom is my partner. Right off the bat, I'm account manager, so I technically am sales, but I am working to become a network engineer. So this means I know just enough to be dangerous, know how to break some things, but I may not have all the technical answers, so I apologize in advance if I don't. But I do know, again, I do know enough to be dangerous, so we'll kind of kick it off here. Today we're going to be talking about Wi-Fi 6E. If you've never heard of it, well, now you have. If you have before, we'll get to explain what Netgear does with it. So going into, here's our little agenda that we're going to be going over today. We're going to do some company facts. We're going to go over some Wi-Fi standards, past, present, and talk about Wi-Fi 6E. What exactly is Wi-Fi 6E? Why do we need Wi-Fi 6E? And what is the technical difference between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E? And then what are the benefits of Wi-Fi 6E? How will it help you? And then lastly, we will finish with some of our Netgear products that support Wi-Fi 6E. And then just like Julie said, we will open it up at the end for any questions. Okay, so just real quick, some company facts. I'm a strong believer in death by PowerPoint, so that's what I absolutely do not want to do. It's happened to me many times. So as each slide kind of comes across, I may not read everything across the screen. I'll just kind of read what I feel is most important. For example, here in 2020, we did about a little over 1.2 billion in net revenue. 2021 has not been released yet. They're still compiling those numbers. But we did that with a little over 1,000 employees. So what that means is we run lean. And because of that, we are very agile in the market. The saying goes is we are big enough to make an impact in the industry, but also small enough to care. Talking about the difference for Netgear, anytime Netgear develops a product, both past, present, and future, we always achieve these three things. We always want to make sure we're reliable, we're affordable, and we're easy to use. When it comes time to our reliability, a lot of our products have a 5-year warranty, and even more and more are gaining a limited lifetime warranty, which means after the product goes end of life, we'll still support it for another 5 years after. We want to make sure we're affordable, right? We want to make sure we tailor to those small to medium businesses. We can even go as far as enterprise, but we all probably have dealt with some enterprise companies having a small to medium sized budget, and how difficult the challenge can be with that. And so we want to make sure our price point is very strong and not a reason to turn us away. Kind of like one of those things where you might have a customer who has wants some wine, but on a beer budget, as they say. And then we're easy to use. We want to make sure that our products are simple, doesn't take any technical training, no certifications that you have to go to really understand or how to use it. So many of our competitors have some of these. I think we can think of some competitors, won't be naming any, but definitely we know some who are going to be maybe reliable, maybe easy to use, but not affordable. Or maybe they are affordable and they're easy to use, but they're not reliable. We always strive to achieve these three, which would always make Netgear the difference. Let's talk about some Wi-Fi standards. Hopefully I don't show my age too much here, but these are the past Wi-Fi standards and the ones that we're currently on. Gosh, it seems like yesterday we were on N. But AC is what I think most people are still utilizing, and only because AX, or the Wi-Fi 6, is still pretty new. It came out in 2019. And even that is a bit crazy for me to wrap my mind around that. Gosh, it's already been 3 years since Wi-Fi 6 came. Excuse me. Feels just like yesterday. But lo and behold, there is a new type of Wi-Fi in town, the Wi-Fi 6. Back in 2020 in April, so just a little over a year ago, or sorry, 2 years ago, the FCC voted to open up a 6 gigahertz band to the Wi-Fi 6E and to be able to utilize it. And so this is a breakthrough in technology, and it allows more and more capacity to be connected. We'll kind of dive into it a little bit about what's its uses and go into some more differences. But let's talk about, why Wi-Fi 6E is needed. A lot of people are like, Wi-Fi 6 just came out in 2019, and in 2020 we already are coming out with a Wi-Fi 6E. The bottom line is while Wi-Fi 6E was a massive step forward, and it's crazy to say was because I still want to say is a massive step forward. And a lot of people even are still using Wi-Fi 5, and they may say, well, it's still sufficient for my situation. There's a lot of instances where it's not enough. Just increasing speed is not enough to keep up with the business demand. When you're growing, you have more employees, you have more devices connected, so it's not just all about speed. And as we can all relate to, if you go out to your front, if you go out in front of your house, maybe to the street, and you turn on your Wi-Fi, I'm sure you'll see a plethora of networks available to connect. And so that's the reason that is because they all share the same radio frequencies. They're all either using the 2.4 or the 5. And more people utilizing that just causes more channel interference, and which means it gets congested, can underperform. That's when you start getting latency issues. But Wi-Fi 6E is taking care of that. So what are the capacity demands? Right? What is their demand right now for it? And in simple, Wi-Fi demands just keep growing. They always will. Every year they're going to get more and more and more. The number of devices and phones and just it seems about everything. My crock pot can be Wi-Fi. My smoker, my washer and dryer, dishwasher can all be Wi-Fi enabled. And all these devices and more, and as new devices come out and new products come out, getting more and more demanding on your Wi-Fi. There's also advancing in technologies such as 4K and 8K. I think nowadays 4K is almost the standard. I think it might. I don't know. The last time I went to Walmart and tried to find a 720, I don't think anybody has. Just so irrelevant in today's times. It's now 4K. Even 32-inch 4K, Ultra HD type stuff is all the rage right now. And these things like that drive the demand. And we also are seeing a lot of virtualization. A lot of people working from home and relying on their technology to be able to communicate with the office or be on a VPN, things like that. The fact is, and these are some pretty shocking stats that I read that 13 billion devices with Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E are expected to ship by 2026, in 4 years. Definitely, if you're wanting to future-proof your network, definitely Wi-Fi 6 is the way to go. Just by 2022, about 2.2 times the amount of devices are going to be connected by the end of 2022 than last year, and with a total of about 80 billion connected devices by 2030. And 2030 is only 8 years away. Gosh, I know tons of people who have their networks who've been having their network for 10 plus years, and you think of the amount of devices that's going to be handled. And if you're not going to replace your network infrastructure for 10 years, you've got a lot to future proof for. So there is a demand for the Wi-Fi 6E, but the question really comes down to is, okay, well, what's the difference? If I need to upgrade to Wi-Fi 6, I'm still on AC or Wi-Fi 5. Should I upgrade to Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E? What are the differences between those? And to do that, we'll talk a little bit about what are some of the main features in just your standard Wi-Fi 6 stuff. And this can get this is where it gets a little technical and can kind of get a little, I don't want to say boring, but boring if you're not super technical or into that kind of stuff. But they're primarily Wi-Fi 6 came out and had this thing called OFDMA, which is a lot easier way of saying orthogonal frequency division, multiple access. Ultimately, in short, this feature allows your router and whatever device you're using that's connected with your router, it gives you more bandwidth by reducing the time between data transmissions. So the best way that I picture it is your network like a freeway, right? And the cars are the devices on your freeway. And OFDMA allows the spaces in between those vehicles to be a lot shorter. So, the 2-second rule that maybe a lot of us have come to know and love about following behind a car or following too closely. Well, what it does is it intentionally puts them closely, so that way more people can be on the freeway, or more people can be on the network. Then you have MoMeMo, the traffic efficiency. Most people are familiar with MoMeMo. Pretty much, again, this device allows your router to, when talking with your devices, multiple. It's like having multiple devices on the freeway and having multiple people even inside multiple lanes. Then we have this 1024 high order modulation. This, from my understanding, this is what increases the speed. This is like increasing the freeway increasing the speed on your freeway. It's like going from 75 to 125. And then lastly, Wi-Fi 6 came and was a game changer by extending the battery for your devices with a target wait time. And pretty much what that is goes to sleep mode, kind of like your laptop might. If you're not utilizing it, says, hey, I'm not going to boost out as much full power unless I absolutely need it. So those are what made Wi-Fi 6 different and industry changing. But then with Wi-Fi 6E, what makes this different? It builds upon all of those. However, what it does now do is it says it adds additional spectrum. So this gives you a 6 gigahertz network to connect to. Most of us are familiar with the 2.4 and the 5. Well, now there's going to be a 6. There are, when you add another network, this obviously adds, it's like adding another freeway to your whole infrastructure. And by adding this, it allows more devices, obviously less devices on a 2.4 or the 5, and more devices can be put on the 6. And we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to be put on the 6. But another big game changer is DFS, no DFS scanning. So some people complain who live near airports or nearby radio stations or TV stations. They complain that, hey, Wi-Fi is kind of crappy. That's because they all use similar the 160 megahertz channel in the 5 gigahertz. And so people who live close to those often have problems with the Wi-Fi. Well, Wi-Fi 6E is not on any of those radar channels or any of these. So Wi-Fi 6 is just a clear open lane and with no interference at all. And to kind of with that too, no legacy Wi-Fi, no older Wi-Fi devices. So the 6 gigahertz band is only exclusive to Wi-Fi 6E devices. So you have to have a Wi-Fi 6 card inside whatever device, whether that's a laptop, a cell phone, a tablet, whatever it is, in order to utilize that lane. There are already devices that already have a Wi-Fi 6E. I believe the Galaxy S21 had it, and I think the 22 Whaler does have it. The Google Pixel 6 I know had it. The Asus Zenfone 8 had it, and there's probably some more, but those are kind of the ones that off the top of my mind that I know had the 6E. So we're already seeing devices get it enabled and already start being developed with it. So those are some big things. And then lastly, the WPA3, just a security protocol. This just is another layer of security that Wi-Fi 6 generally uses. There's a Wi-Fi Alliance security certification that there is, and the Wi-Fi 6 takes into account WPA3, that certification. And so the limited devices that can be connected to the Wi-Fi 6E, the 6 network, or the 6 gigahertz network, is far fewer. Therefore, it's going to be more secure because less devices as of right now. Now, when we talk about the benefits, right? What are the benefits of Wi-Fi 6E? Those are the differences, are the benefits, right? Less competition and interference between Wi-Fi equipment. Knowing that nothing really operates on the 6 gigahertz. No other Wi-Fi standard, no radar, airports, anything like that. The Wi-Fi 6E can support up to 4 times the volume of devices compared to previous standards. So this is even a bigger lane than the Wi-Fi 5 or the 2.4 on those. And again, it's super fast and secure. The next question will kind of be, okay, well, which network or which Netgear products support Wi-Fi 6E? As of last month, so this is fairly new, Netgear released the WAC 630E. And this is the first SMB or small medium business grade Wi-Fi 6E access point. It provides that tri-band, the 2.4, the 5, and the 6 gigahertz with an optional Insight Cloud Management that's capable of having that. If you don't know what the Insight Cloud Management is, I encourage you to go online, check it out. It's going to be similar to some like the Meraki's out there, the Unifies, just another remote management software that you can go in and use that. It's great feature to tie in with the WAC 630 and the WAC 630E. We do have one more access point too as well. We have the WAC 630 EP. The difference only is the P comes with a power adapter. So meaning that this device can be powered via PoE or a standard wall outlet. They're the exact same switch. So I've had some customers order in case, let's say the 630E is backlogged or not in stock, but the EP is. But you don't need that power adapter. If budget's willing and time is very crucial, it might be beneficial to pay a little bit the difference, get the EP, and then just toss the power adapter aside and continue powering it via PoE. But these three separate radios bring a total of 7.8 gigabytes of aggregate throughput. We'll specify aggregate to make sure all devices are running fast and good. So that kind of, if we want to kind of get into the nitty gritty for those who want to know and those who like to know, if we talk about the data sheet, this is on our website that you can go to at any time, but here it is in front of your eyes. A couple things that I want to point out. When it comes time to the Wi-Fi standards, notice that the AX or the Wi-Fi 6 is enabled on all three bands, 6, the 5, and the 2.4. This is different from a lot of the competitors out there. There are a lot of competitors out there that only offer it on the 5. Since for the first, I'm not quite familiar with what they look like on the 6 for anybody else if they have it, but a lot of competitors out there, they don't have it on the 2.4, but we do. So that's something that to be on the lookout for if you are looking at installing any Wi-Fi 6 access points. Take a look at their data sheet. Take a look at the standards and see if they have both AX on the 2.4 and the 5, and if they're really utilizing it. In doing so, we can see here that on the 2.4, it's a 2x2. We have a 4x4 on the 5 and a 2x2 on the 6. As a result of those, we can see the maximum theoretical throughput. The 2.4 is 600, the 5 is the 4800, and the 6 is 2400. You might ask, well, why is the 6 a little bit slower? Well, it's just more lanes at the wider traffic right now, and it's still just it's a 2x2. So as of right now, that's the way it is. We can expect probably as time progresses it to increase and be faster and stronger and better. Part of the reason why in doing so, why we put this as a 2x2, 4x4, and a 2x2 was because we wanted to make sure that standard PoE could power it. If you'll notice right here, the PoE power consumption is 27.64 watts. The WAX 630, the predecessor to this, was a 4x4 on both the 2.4 and the 5. Didn't obviously have the 6 yet. And in doing so, it caused the PoE power consumption to be at 30.1 watts, which means you now need to use PoE plus or Ultra PoE, some people know it, in order to power that device. And so that kind of was like, well, you know, I might have to buy a whole new switch just to power that one. It was kind of a little bit of a turn off, but in some instances, if you were going to rip and replace it, made sense. But to be a little bit more equal in the market and to be having it a better play in the market, if you will, this does get powered via PoE plus, so which is a great big benefit. So ultimately, that is the Wi-Fi 6 in a nutshell. I don't believe I have anything else after this. I will go ahead and turn the time over for some questions.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for that presentation. We enjoyed it very much. And yes, I do have some questions for you. Let me get started with the first one. Here we go. Of course, regarding Wi-Fi 6E, will all your routers support Wi-Fi 6? Will there be a significant price change for the consumer products?
Yeah, so that's a great question. In regards to Wi-Fi 6E, you can bet that routers that are going to be being released and access points that are going to be being released are going to be Wi-Fi 6 enabled. On the business side, I know the access points will. On the business side, when it comes time to routers, we do have an Orbi Pro router right now. They are in the works of releasing some Wi-Fi 6E routers, but those have not yet been released. Those are on the roadmap and are being beta tested as we speak. So to answer that question, yeah, Wi-Fi 6 will definitely be the future, especially Wi-Fi 6E, and that we will always try to incorporate Wi-Fi 6E into the growing market.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan. Next question here for you, of course, regarding Wi-Fi 6E. Will this be ideal for public areas or for businesses?
Absolutely. You know, when we talk about a high demand area, anywhere that there's going to be a lot of devices that are going to be connected to it, Wi-Fi 6E it gives you a third lane. And the way that I look at it is, how many people right now have a Wi-Fi 6E card? Probably not very many, because again, it just came out and it's still fairly new. But as time goes on, more and more devices will have Wi-Fi 6E enabled. So you're kind of doing two things. You're future proofing. So for those public areas and those areas where a lot of people are going to be connected, if you want to future proof, absolutely throw in something like this to have a third band ready to go and start being utilized as the technology becomes more and more available to the average consumer. It is a fantastic option to utilize. So yes, of course.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Next question here for you. Will there be a significant difference in speed compared to Wi-Fi 6?
That's a great question. And the answer would be that as of right now, if you're on the 5, as you saw it is a dual band. It's a 2x2 and not a 4x4. So when it comes time to the speed alone, I would probably say your device will notice a difference, and it depends on what's slowing you down or why your speeds aren't improving on the 6. You know, is it device? Is it too much traffic on the 5? Are you maxing out the 5 gigahertz network on a Wi-Fi 6 router, for example? Let's say you had the 630 and you had a bunch of devices on the 5 gigahertz band, and you had, I don't know, 500. Yeah, that could be excessive and could be slowing down the Wi-Fi 6 5 gigahertz network. And by doing so, having an E, if any of those 500 devices have an E card, let's say, 20, 30% does, or even 10%, that's 10% or 20 or 30% less traffic on that 5 and now on the 6. And so is it possible? Yes, it is 100% possible to have better speeds, but I can't say definite you will see an improvement in speed, because it depends on if you're not maxing out the Wi-Fi 6 stuff, then it's likely that you're not going to be maxing out the Wi-Fi 6E or being really able to utilize the Wi-Fi 6E as an overflow. So kind of a tough question to answer. I would say, again, lastly, to follow up with that, if your Wi-Fi 6 router or access point is doing just fine and you're getting great speeds that you are come to know and love, and you don't really have any devices on a Wi-Fi 6E chip built into those devices yet, you probably won't experience an increase in speed until you have more devices that are Wi-Fi 6E capable.
Thank you, Jordan, so much. Next question here for you. With Wi-Fi 6, are all models indoor and outdoor?
Great question. So right now we do not have any Wi-Fi 6E access points outdoor. We only have indoor, and the difference is just how the weather proofing, right, and the temperature range that they can go to. We do have a Wi-Fi 6 access point, our WAX610Y. That is an outdoor access point that is Wi-Fi 6 enabled. But knowing the future and knowing that Netgear is always working to develop what the demand is for them, I would imagine that an outdoor access point is already in the roadmap for a Wi-Fi 6E. But as of right now, we just have one Wi-Fi 6 outdoor access point, and the others should not be really utilized. Can't go out and just recommend that indoor be used outdoor, just because they're not rated for the weather or the fluctuation in temperature.
Thank you for that, Jordan. Next question here for you. Does Netgear access points work with other manufacturers' routers and switches?
So yeah, we do. We follow IEEE standard. So the way that I like to answer that question is anybody else who follows IEEE standard and doesn't veer off from that, yes, we will work. You could throw in these access points and power them via, a Juniper switch. You shouldn't have any problems with that. What I say is we work well with others. Whether somebody else works well with us might be a different story. There are some companies out there that have proprietary stuff that's proprietary to them, kind of like Apple. When you think of, okay, I bought a pair of Bluetooth headphones. They're not Apple Bluetooth headphones. They're not AirPods, but they're just standard Bluetooth headphones. Will my Apple device connect to them? Because Bluetooth is a standard across all things. It's like, well, if anybody has Bluetooth, you should be able to. But we know Apple likes to do things a little bit differently with their ways when it comes time to their Bluetooth and pairing it with other Apple devices. Apple AirPods work well with Apple, phones and Apple devices. And so can it work? Sure. There might be a little bit of issues because you're using different things that aren't proprietary to Apple. And so that's the other kind of consideration too. It's kind of that two-way street. So to answer that question, yes, we can work well with other routers, with other access points, as long as they don't have anything proprietary that would stop them from working with us.
Thank you, Jordan. That makes sense. Couple more questions still yet here for you. Does Netgear have PMP devices?
Does Netgear have, sorry, repeat that one more time, PNP?
PTMP devices.
PTMP.
Yes.
Okay. And I think PTMP is what we're talking about, point-to-point is what I think is being referred to as PTMP. And if that's the case, just a straight point-to-point, we used to have a wireless bridge that was a point-to-point, but not anymore. All our access points are now omnidirectional.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Last question here for you. What frequency are the Wi-Fi 6 devices?
That is a great question. Let me see if we have anything on. If we're talking about just standard Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E? Let's see, because I know. Let's see here, the 2.4 and so you have the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz frequency band. And then the Wi-Fi 6 introduces a 6 gigahertz frequency band, 6 gigahertz. So I hope that maybe answered your question. If it didn't, maybe re-put or maybe rephrase it, and then we can kind of swing back to that one.
No, you're good. Thank you so much, Jordan, and for answering all of those questions for us. And thank you to everyone for attending today. And if anyone does have any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And remember, this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so you can view it again. Jordan, thank you again for all of your valuable information today. Hopefully we will touch base again in a few more months and see what else Netgear's got going on, and to hear you give it to us with this information in a presentation style again. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Jordan, have a fantastic day. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye-bye now.